Board, are we ready?
Technology.
Call this meeting. Yes? Okay, calling this meeting to order. This is the monthly board meeting of the Canuteo Independent School District Board of Trustees. Today is December 18, 2018. The time is 5:04 p.m. We have two clocks and they're both different. 5:02. All right, and Sonia, would you please call roll?
President Coronado, did you want to do the Pledge of Allegiance?
Oh, yes. Okay. Do we have any veterans in the audience? Would you please come up here and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, sir? And active duty members? Do you have any active duty members?
I'd rather not. Thank you, though. It's an honor.
Sir?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now the Texas pledge.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, everybody.
Item D, roll call. Ms. Brigham.
Here.
Mr. Coronado.
Here?
Mr. Payan.
Here.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Present.
Mrs. Searles. Mrs. Trout. Present. And Mrs. Iglesias. Here. Item E, CISD Vision and Mission Statements.
Okay. It's and Mr. Rodriguez like to recite those.
Thank you. KNTO Vision Statement. KNTO ISD is a premier district preparing tomorrow's task today. Innovative, future-focused learning opportunities for every student.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for allowing. And the mission statement is, our mission is to create rigorous student-centered classrooms which develop future-ready students to compete in a global economy and thrive in a multicultural world.
Thank you. Next agenda item.
Yes, sir. Item number 2 is open forum. Any person wishing to address the board during the period reserved for public comment at a board meeting must sign up to be heard in accordance with District Policy BED's logo. Number 1, each participant will be limited to 3 minutes to make comments to the board. Item 2, any group of 5 or more persons must appoint 1 person to present the group's views to the board. Number 3, the board is not permitted to discuss or act upon any issues that are not posted on the agenda for tonight's meeting. And for further information, please contact the superintendent's office. Board President, we have 4 speakers, and our first speaker is Sergio Venegas.
All right, Mr. Venegas.
That's me. I'd like to congratulate.
Sir, you can come up and address so we can get you.
Try not to waste anyone's time. So I know most of you have been recently appointed, so congratulations, and I hope you can help the community. I got 2 serious things that I'd like to bring up and have some resolution to it. A little bit of background of myself. I'm recently relocated to the area. My son attends sophomore at Cantillo High School. My background before moving here, I was in charge of all Central and South American special operations. I was the number 2 guy there. So why that's important, it comes into security. I've probed and I've asked a lot of police officers from the school district and some of the moonlighting police officers, what they think about the security of the high school and other facilities. And I only mention this because we're here to help and improve the overall safety to achieve the mission statements and, more importantly, have the bright future of our kids move forward, right? So the conditions are pretty dire. And from a professional standpoint, it only takes a few little things to tighten up those shortfallings. For example, limiting the amount of entryways into the school. That doesn't take any funding, it just procedural and protocol. I can go on for days, but I think that today the Trump administration released their findings of safety for all schools. I suggest having some type of panel to review those and hopefully implement those relatively quick, because it's best to be proactive as opposed to reactive, and we don't want to be on national news for a tragedy. So that's one. And then number two, I understand Canutillo High School has an awesome baseball varsity coach, a World Series winner. That's a very, very rare commodity. But all the resources are going to the football program for this Jumbotron. I suggest relocating some of these funds for safety down at the baseball field. I go over there and I help practice and coach some of these kids, and it's a real safety hazard. Lack of nets, lack of gear, lack of proper maintenance for the field. Again, these are resources that can be reallocated from other things that probably don't need to be used with our funding as it is now. So I hope you can relook at that and redistribute some funds so that way all athletics are taken care of and not just one. That concludes my time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Stephanie Fritzy.
Good evening, board. It's definitely different being over here on this side. So I'm here to address the safety and security as well. This is something that is still continues to be dear to me in the community, and as well on school campuses. I believe that it is the role of the school board trustees to make this a top priority. Contracted services is a must as long as the board does not approve to place and hire full-time police force, because right now we are not with one assigned police officer at each school. My second item that I signed up to speak for was board member Lori Searles continues to refuse to go green and spends thousands of dollars, over $20,000 within 4 to 5 years that she has been prior on the board. I'm asking the board this evening to think, what is it that you're going to do to govern yourself? Because it's important to set the example. All around the state of Texas, go green, paperless. And I think if we're expecting our kids to get up to speed with technology, I think as school board members we should as well. So I really do think that you need to think, again, the safety and security of our children and how much you value our children and how much you need to set precedents by going green and paperless and using these $20,000 plus more now that she has become elected again. Use that towards safety and security, $20,000+ that you can use towards any kind of things that we need for safety and security. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Lisa Rogowski.
Good evening. Thank you. I'm a teacher in this district. I do what I can to make my students safe in that classroom. When we have security, when we have police officers that have a presence on our campus, we have less issues on our campus. When we don't have that that presence, then we have issues that happen all the time. If Chief Carrillo could be here today, he would tell you that I prepare my students to the best of my ability to make sure that they go home at the end of every day, that they're not going to be a victim. We need our police. We don't need a jumbotron. Our field at the high school is 11 years old. It still looks good. We don't need to spend almost $700,000 on that. Put it towards our police. Put it towards making our buildings safe and secure. That's what we need. That's what we deserve. Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Alfonso Flores.
Good evening, Board President and Trustees. I come to you, before you, as an informed taxpayer of the community to remind the Board of Trustees as to their role of the board governance of this Canutillo School District. The Canutillo School Board was elected by the taxpayers of this community to represent the interests of the taxpayers within the district boundaries. With taxpayers' money in combination with state federal money, which is also provided by taxpayers of the community, the board is responsible first and foremost to expend these resources responsibly and with the guidelines set forth by the state legislature. Again, as a trustee, you represent the taxpayers of this community. Items brought forth tonight will include the replacement of football field turf to the tune of about $700,000 and installation of a new scoreboard with video display for the amount of $500,000. The field turf replacement project should be designed by a licensed architect, not a design build as required by the state licensing board, and then bid out through proper purchasing options available to the district. In reviewing the submitted bids, the contractor's bids cannot be properly evaluated because they're not bidding the same specifications. The proposal from Hellas has two options that are not quoted by the other entities, which are planned to be awarded tonight. In addition, the perception is evident when a corporate employee of Hellas is sitting on the school board. If you truly want to eliminate any perceptions, then bid out the project to the lowest bidder without regards to an evaluation by an internal committee. You must hold yourselves to the highest ethical standards above reproach. In addition, when you read the executive summary for the new scoreboard, quote, at the request of the Board of Trustees, administration secured proposals for a visual display board known as jumbotrons, unquote. Let me ask you a few questions when you consider this proposal tonight. This was a request by the Board of Trustees. The funding method to purchase this scoreboard is bond money. The bond money that was passed that was funded by the taxpayers of this community to fund school reparation projects. The bond money, as we as taxpayers continue to repay through our taxes every year. We have not seen a bond update in the past 3 years. Have these projects been completed for the 2015 bond? And if so, if there's excess money, why hasn't it been returned to bring down our debt obligation? I'm sure there are other pressing issues in our schools other than to fund a $500,000 scoreboard. And if you look tonight, I guess security is one of our main issues that we need to address also tonight. Thank you.
Ms. Maldonado.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Galaviz. I too am here about the issue that you've heard recently right now. As an ex-CBAC member, I know the list that was put out for the bond money. One of the purposes of CBAC was for transparency. And so now I see that one of the issues was the sewerage issue at CMS. And you're willing to relocate those funds to buy this huge board at the football field, which I agree with all these people that have spoken in the little time that I've been here, we don't need. How is the CMS sewage problem? Did it get fixed? No, it's still on the waiting list. But you're willing to take that money to buy a huge board and replace the turf at the high school. If you're going to relocate these funds, it's about what you promised to the taxpayers from the bond money. There are more pressing issues, like you heard tonight, security being one. Cameras were one of those bond issue priorities, which have yet to be working at the campuses. Roofing leaks. At CES, we have leaks. That's a pressing issue. As a DAC member, we just submitted a list of priorities for next year's budget. One of them was technology. We have new programs to advance our students to keep the A rating. However, our technology is not up to par. Resources for teachers, again, to keep that A rating. So you need to reconsider this. This is a want. When we budget for Christmas, when we budget in our families, we put our needs first. Something to the amount of $489,000 plus $678,000, that's over $100,000. But the main issue is, if it was targeted to take care of a sewage problem at CMS, that needs to be priority, because that was on the bond list. If it's yet to be fixed, then you need to fix that. And then you need to allocate any money that's left over so that everybody in this district will benefit, not just one school, and not just one board member saying, oh, I did that, you know? So please listen to your constituents, your taxpayers. I, as a previous ex-CBAC member, as a current DAC member, as a community member, plead for you to please reconsider this, because it is not, Mr. Payan, you've served with me. This is not, it's just something that I want. Thank you.
Our final speaker is Julie Melendez.
I apologize for the noisy sweater, I'm sorry. It's ugly sweater day, kind of the elementary. Good evening, Board President, Dr. Galaviz, and trustees. I don't want to sound redundant. I'm a little nervous because I don't normally speak up, but this is something that I would like to talk about. As a sole of one or two final members of the CBAC committee, I come to talk about the same thing that everybody's talking about, that Jumbotron. The last CBAC meeting we had, we talked about the $1.3 million that was allocated for the sewage system at CMS. And I understand that we are partners with the Public Service Board who are going to work with us to pay for this. And I get it that it hasn't come together and things have not been rolling and we might have to wait another year, but just because we have those $1.3 million doesn't mean that we get to spend them on things that are not worth the money. Not only I come to you as a CBAC member, as an employee, as a parent, as a taxpayer. Don't get me wrong, I support Canutio football 100%. My nephew's a quarterback. You know, I bleed orange. Anybody who knows me knows I bleed orange. But I do not support the Jumbotron. I do not feel that $489,000 towards this Jumbotron is money well spent. Like some of the people have said here, I have 2 cottages buildings on my property at CES that are full of asbestos, that are potentially hazardous to students that walk through there every day. That's going to cost $250,000 to get rid of. Why don't we put that on our priority list? You know, Mr. Hector Rodriguez has done a technology audit, and we sat there and he said in order for my campus to be up to par with technology, it's going to take at least $182,000. Yes, we get a budget for technology, but it's never enough. It's never enough. But yet $489,000, I keep repeating that in my head as a school, you know, how can we justify that? How can we justify that amount of money? And how are we transparent? Because I sat in this committee since it was born, I believe 8 years ago. And so we keep changing the list of priorities. I have list after list here, but really what has been completed? What we have things that have been on a list that are indefinitely postponed. So I'm asking you, what are priorities? We have 6,000 students to think about, 10 campuses. How do you spread the wealth? How do you spread the wealth equally and evenly so that all 6,000 students get a piece of that? Also, Obviously, we have the best teachers in Texas. If we are the only A-rating district in the county, let's give them resources. Let's give them modern technology, laptops for crying out loud. You know, we need to do something good for our teachers and reward them. So I thank you. I know I've got my time. Thank you.
All right, Sonia?
Item 3, board honors. Ms. Rodriguez.
Good evening, Board President Coronado, members of the board, Dr. Galaviz. Please join us in front of the dais to begin our monthly board recognitions. Every year, congressional representatives invite middle and high school students to create and submit their original mobile apps to inspire students to explore science, technology, engineering, and math, along with coding and computer science. This month, the Office of Congressman Beto O'Rourke announced that Northwest Early College High School student Aya Abdulgawar won the Congressional App Challenge for the 16th Congressional District. Aya Just Breathe app is targeted towards students and contains options for breathing and stress management techniques on a daily basis and helps users relax. The app is available for Android. Congratulations, Aya. Can you please join us up front? The teacher, principal, and parents join us up front for a photo.
Squish. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Congratulations. Educators in Canutillo are among the best trained in all of the United States thanks to their successful completion of the National Board Certification process. National Board Certification process is a voluntary, advanced credential that goes beyond state requirements. Participants must meet national standards for what accomplished teachers and counselors should know and be able to do. The process is rigorous and takes 1 to 2 years to complete. On December 1st, Michelle Bally, Northwest Early College counselor, was notified that she earned her National Board Certification for school counseling. There are only 11 counselors in the state of Texas to earn the certification. Ms. Bally will be the first counselor in the region to earn the certification. Can you please join us up front? In addition, the following teachers have earned their National Board Certification. From Northwest Early College, Catherine Tabor in math. Alicia Muir in English. Bernice Sotelo in math. From Reyes Elementary, Marina Rubio, early childhood generalist. From Ganutillo Middle School, Susie Tufts, early adolescent English language artist. Lilia Villanueva, mathematics, early adolescence. Catherine McWhorter Sutherland, mathematics, early adolescence. And from Ganutillo High School, they were unable to attend, Clifford Campbell and Rudy Medina. Thank you, congratulations. Board members, this concludes this month's recognitions. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, thank you.
Item number 4, Board of Trustee business. A discussion and possible action regarding the board member continuing education credits for the 2018 calendar year per BBD and BR Legal.
Credits have been posted. Any comments? Ms. Brigham.
Yes, thank you, sir. I would just like, I know that I would like to have some assistance. So, yeah. I would like to sue or complain, and I think I need some help with that.
Okay.
So I know there is a lot of online courses, Mr. President.
Yes.
So I do think I'm going to try to sue for that, so that I can more hours, and I hope that they're about being online. I could do it.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
And SB 1566 is offered online.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else? All right. I think that On to the next agenda item.
Okay.
Item B, discussion and possible action regarding the October 23rd, 2018 meeting minutes.
Right, this was a request from Ms. Crown. Everybody has the transcript of the minutes that was provided. Does anybody have any comments?
Mr. Sherman,
Ms. Proud.
yes, I would like to comment something. What we're going to talk about is the wording that it was in the minutes. The wording says that Mrs. Searle, she given an overview of the information that she had provided to the board over the last several months, which was not like that.
Well, I understand what your objection to the minutes is,
It's
but
the wording.
that was exactly what was said. Whether it's true or not is a different issue. So that was what the wording in the transcript on the minutes was. Minutes need to reflect what was discussed at the meeting. Whether the verity and that was truthful or not is a different issue. I think the minutes should reflect exactly what was said.
Well, it says that she had provided to the board over the last several months. Indeed, was not provided to the board over the last several months. That's why when I had the board meeting, when I was the board president, I just hold her accountable that she needs to bring that information because she didn't provide this information over the several months before.
Now we can deal with that as a separate agenda item. Like to pursue that for information that we can post. But as far as the minutes, does anybody have any position on it? Ms. Brigham?
Well, I was confused on why it was there, so I think, but the thing is too, I do know, I had asked a lot of questions on that, and it's evident what it sent us. But also to, Mr. President, some of it was put in on Thursday, 10th.
Some
Of the, information on that information department.
Mr. Chair, I think for what was said at the meeting. For example, if I said yesterday El Paso had a snowstorm, you can say, oh, he didn't, but that's what I said. That's what's on the minutes. Whatever was said, we're just stating what was said. That's what Sonia's task was. Record everybody's
yeah, I mean, these are not anything that's being, like Dr. Delavis said, it's not what the content of the minutes and what was discussed by any one person was big truth or not. That's not what this item deals with. It deals with what was specifically said at the meeting. Could be truthful, it could be untruthful.
The only question I had is, it was revisited and this is what was presented.
Yes, sir.
So we as a board need to vote on what the actual occurrence at the meeting was.
Okay, so I think that, Mr. President,
Ms. Brigham.
could you tell me, okay, so tell me what we need to do, because I'm confused.
We need to approve the minutes.
Oh. Okay. Because, all right, it was nebulous.
Well, no, it's just to
I didn't understand it.
ascertain the exact
It's almost like syntax. Okay.
wording on the minutes that was an issue.
I mean, well, yes, Mr. Chairman, I have the policies here that it was not turned in the material on time. I have, if you want me to read it, I would like to read
Put the agenda item, Reese.
Just a minute, Ms. Searle, Ms. Pratt. I'll let you, we're taking actually a lot of time on this. We can
I'm going to
discuss
be fast and I would like to do it as
We can discuss it at a separate, but the agenda item deals with, now whether she complied with that and what was
No, she
said.
didn't comply on time because I was the board president at that time.
And whether that, she complied with it or not, we can deal with that at a separate agenda item. But whether or not that was said is really the issue, is was that in the minutes or not? That's my understanding.
The only thing it says that she had provided to the board over the last several months, which was not like that, sir.
And I
That's the
understand.
reason that I was to hold it accountable for the board and for the committee.
And we can deal, and the board can deal with that separately, but not whether or not that was said at the meeting. We can deal with that with a separate agenda item at a future date, and.
So we need to vote it today?
No, you can request an item to be placed on a future agenda to discuss those issues of compliance, but it's not whether or not that was said at the meeting.
Because the word says that she had provided to the board over the last several months. That's the wording that I'm not agreeing with.
And, well, I understand you're not in agreement with it, but it's not whether you're in agreement with it, it's whether that exactly what she said about it.
But isn't that in reference?
Mr. Rodriguez?
Isn't that in reference, or, I mean, I'm just trying to.
Well, our minutes need to reflect exactly what we said. So, that's the whole purpose of this. So, if in fact there was non-compliance with that statement, then we need to deal with it, but in a separate meeting. Or in another meeting that deals directly with that. And we can deal with that if you'd like, but today, the only thing on the agenda is to discuss whether to approve the minutes and then whether that was said or not, and that's why we asked for a transcript last meeting to be provided to us. And we have the transcript, and I think pretty much in agreement that
the question here is that the transcript is on the doc.
Mr. Board President, because we're not talking about what she said on that set. I'm talking about the wording that it was in the minutes. The wording that it was in the minutes, when it was placed in the agenda, that's what says that. Mrs. Earl, she gave an overview of the information that she had provided to the board over the last several months.
right. And I guess that's semantics. We can, if everybody agrees that the meetings reflect that this is what Ms. Searles maintained that she did.
That she didn't provide it over the last several months.
Well, I understand that, but her statement was that she had provided.
In mine, is she hadn't.
Right. No, I understand what you're saying. And I guess with respect to the semantics of.
And some other
the wording-
stuff in the policies here, she didn't return it on time. I mean, we have policies here that the board needs to respect her. And they were not respected on time. They were not turning in on time the information.
I understand.
That's all that I wanted to
understand what you're saying.
say it and keep it on recording.
And we can deal with that, but I think as far as semantics is what the minutes said, we can always, the board can always make a motion that the actual minutes should read that Searles maintained that she had provided that to the board, because I didn't see any, at the meeting either, there wasn't any verification of documentation to support those, what she was maintaining. Ms. Searles.
Yes, Mr. Coronado, because Mrs. Trout doesn't know what she reads, is no reason to say that I didn't do it, that it wasn't provided. If she can't understand what has been given to her, that's a personal problem on hers. Every bit of this was given to the board in a timely manner, just as is reflected in those minutes, just as Ms. Sonia wrote down. And I'd like to ask Dr. Galavis if he would please go through. I'm tired of everybody treating me mean. I really am. It's getting old for no apparent reason. And for being made to look like a disgrace when I'm not. And so I'd like to ask Dr. Galavis, please, would you go back through from April to up to date on the Thursday packet, and everything that I've said in there is in the Thursday packet.
You know, Ms.
And it
Searles,
was
you can
delivered
request
one
it
time.
separately, but that's not on the agenda item.
No, it isn't any more than all the stuff she's been saying. So
That's why I'm trying to
I
direct
know.
that we discuss that at a
But I
separate
think
meeting and a separate.
that it's very easy to stop these accusations and these allegations. And I don't like being called dishonest, and I don't like being
Searles,
called a person who doesn't speak the truth.
We've discussed that. I mean, there were some other issues that, but we don't.
There
want to
weren't
get
any
into.
other issues with that.
Well, there
I
were.
do a good job on my.
No, I understand with respect to that, but, one of the things you did not notify this board to vote on your appointment to the CAD. You did?
Oh, I don't think it was necessary.
Well, but
I could be wrong.
I think it's.
But I think you all know it's very obvious. It just.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Three
I
other
want to discuss
entities
that
voted
here.
for me.
I
And that's
want
not
to
on
discuss
the
that
thing,
here
but
because
I
it's not
would
on
like
the agenda
to.
item.
Yeah,
we're
totally
really
off.
Okay.
And it's wrong. That is not, here's your wonderful little book, Robert's Rules of
All
Orders.
right, Ms. Searles, I think if you have anything else on the minutes, I will take that from you now. If not, I think we need to get a motion.
Okay, I'll make the motion.
Mr. Rodriguez?
The only problem is the minutes are not present. It's just, when you click on the doc, it's just the recording, but the minutes aren't, and I looked at they're not on the November 13th or anything, it's just the actual document. No, it needs to be approved, but the problem is that the minutes aren't attached to what we're actually approving. Is there a reason for that?
They were attached on your last board book,
They're not here.
but
I would like to compare them. I didn't see exactly what was on the other minutes as compared to what.
We did get a transcript of it, I believe.
Yeah, so we're approving the transcript, not the minutes. And we're not, so the item that's attached is not the item that should be attached.
I mean, I'm sure this is all correct.
You can always make the motion that, and put it on the record and get this transcript of it to approve it.
I will just table it till we get the actual.
As counsel, Steve, that
You can either approve it, because at the last minute, at the last meeting, it was requested was a transcript
Correct.
for that particular item, that's what you have. That's what you asked for. So if you want to approve it, having received that, you can. If you don't, and someone else on the board wants to make a motion to delay or table it, that's up to the board.
If the item, Steve, is to approve the minutes and the minutes are not attached.
You would ask only for the transcript of the last
Because
meeting.
the item, the action item.
That's what I'm saying, if the board
Yeah.
can approve the minutes, knowing what they are, it's up to you.
Ms. Brigham.
How would you, okay, you tell me how to make the motion so we can accept the transcript, and it will be amended to show it. Okay. Is that how we would word the motion?
You
sir?
can, you have your motion to approve the October 23rd, 2018 meeting minutes with the attached transcript.
Okay, that's, I would like, put that into motion.
And I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion on this item?
Mr. Chair, I would like to have backup from presented to Ms. Trout so she can figure out what it is.
Well, the transcript was provided.
Well, there was backup for her entire, everything that's written in there was given to her.
So,
And
do
everyone
you have
else.
a copy of the transcript attached to the minutes for tonight's meeting?
It's in the agenda.
yes, it's that's the transcript.
Those will be.
Mr. Chairman, it's not exactly about to approve the transcript. What I'm talking about, what was written, that she had provided information to the board over the last several months, which she didn't. That's what I'm, that's all.
Ms. Rose,
That's all.
better finish and I'll let you talk.
And she didn't comply with the policy CCH legal, that she needed to turn in the budget adoption that they haven't kept to us, but she didn't do it, and has to be before they did it. They're supposed to adopt it 15 days before to the board president. She didn't comply with us. That's all.
All right. We have a motion. Anybody else in a second? Anybody else?
I do have one other comment.
Ms. Rose.
I think Ms. Pekarsky has the answers to all of this. All of these accusations, all of that is provided to the board. Is that correct, Ms. Pekarsky?
But I think that's off the agenda item, Ms. Rose.
As much off as everything else.
Well, that's why I'm trying to bring it back to compliance. Because I think we need to discuss about the transcript to approve it, what was said in the transcript, or we can ascertain another motion. Any further discussion on the item? All right, Sonia, please poll the board.
Yes. Ms. Brigham?
Yes.
Mr. Coronado?
Yes.
Mr. Payam?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mrs. Earls?
Yes.
Mrs. Trout? No. And Mrs. Iglesias?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, next agenda item.
Item number 5, new business. A, discussion regarding the 2018 Gallup poll results.
All right. Vicky?
Dr. Galaviz, President Coronado, and Board of Trustees. Last year was the first time that our students participated in the Gallup poll as a district. And so we participated again this year, and I would like to show you some comparisons from last year to this year and report out our result. So as you can see, the Gallup poll is comprised of 4 areas: engagement, hope, entrepreneurial aspiration, and career financial literacy. It is a student poll comprised of 24 questions, a 24-question survey, and it is given to students in grades 5 through 12. All of our campuses participated. Last year we had 2,693 students participate. This year we had an increase of 131 students, and so we had a total of 2,824 students that participated. The first area, an area that we are very, very interested in, is the area of engagement. And so I'll let you look over the questions for a couple of minutes. There are 9 questions that are asked to gauge the engagement of the students. So as you can see, engagement is the involvement, enthusiasm for school. Engaged students are excited about what's happening at their school and what they're learning. And engaged students contribute to the learning environment, and they're psychologically committed to their school. Okay, on the screen you see a comparison of last year and this year. You'll see the percentages of engaged students. They break it down to engaged, not engaged, and actively disengaged. So those students they define as engaged are those that are emotionally connected to school. Not engaged are students that are physically present but psychologically absent. And actively disengaged students feel negatively about school and undermine learning when they share their unhappiness with others. In comparison, you can see that the number of engaged, or the percent of engaged students, increased from the year 2017 to 2018. I think the handouts that you have are not following these slides, so. What this slide shows is a mean of the numbers. There was a Likert scale, and students were asked to score a number between 1 and 5. So you have the mean for comparative purposes between 2017 and 2018, and the U.S. overall. Now these were, of course, the schools and the districts that participated in the United States. Not every single district did in the United States. So this is a comparison with those campuses and those districts. There's an overall increase in our percentage of engaged students.
there is a slight decrease of our disengaged students. So those are the ones certainly that we want to focus on. We want to obviously move up those that are not engaged into the engaged, and obviously the disengaged so that they are actively engaged. Here you see a comparison of scores between the district scores this year and the U.S. Numbers. We selected the two bottom scores for the district, the two top scores, and the middle one. So as you can see, I'm going to get a little bit closer. In the last 7 days, someone has told me I have done good work at school. 3.59 was the mean for the district, 3.61 for the U.S. schools. At this school, I get to do what I do best every day. There we are outperforming the U.S. school percentage, or mean. In the middle, I feel safe at this school. So 3.98 was the median for the district versus the United States number, 3.81. We felt secure about this, and a reminder that students in grades 5 through 12 are taking this survey. The next two questions are our top numbers, and in a Likert scale, those numbers are very close to 5. Very high numbers. Here's a slide that shows you by grade level, and this is standard across the nation. It is a concern for us, and as it should be a concern for the entire nation. So you see that our 5th graders start at a mean of 4.4, and the engagement level goes down by grade level. There's a slight increase in 9th grade, could be attributed to students are excited about a new school, starting high school, but then we continue to see the decline. So those are our areas of focus. What's happening, the transition from elementary to middle school to high school. We have to work hard to keep the students engaged in their classrooms. Another area that we'll focus on is hope. So you can see there that hope is the ideas and energy students have for the future. Hope has been linked to student success in school. Hopeful students are positive about the future, are goal-oriented, and can overcome obstacles in the learning process, enabling them to navigate a pathway to achieve their goals. You see how engagement and hope are very closely connected, and why we're going to put a lot of attention in both engagement and in hope. So there are the questions that result in the hope mean that we get. I know I will graduate from high school. I have a great future ahead of me. I can think of many ways to get good grades. I have many goals. I can find many ways around problems. I have a mentor who encourages my development. I know I will find a good job in the future. This is what we're preparing our students. We want them to be hopeful. We want them to have goals. We want them to have aspirations for the future. In comparison to 2017, we went down by 1 percentage point. Now they have the 3 categories for hope. They're called hopeful, stuck, and discouraged. Hopeful students are students who have numerous ideas and abundant energy for the future. Stuck students have few ideas about the future and may lack the requisite motivation to achieve goals. Discouraged students have few ideas about and possess negative conceptualization of the future. So just like the disengaged category, we're going to focus on students who are discouraged and to move those numbers up. We have a gauge now, we have a comparison, we have numbers where we can create a plan to work on this. Here we have a breakdown of the mean, a comparison, 2017, 2018, and the U.S. overall. We continue to have a higher mean than the U.S. overall numbers in most of the questions. Here we have all of the questions, and the the orange bar is Scanutillo ISD, and the blue bar is the United States comparison. So you can see on many of the questions, we are outperforming, or we have a higher mean than the United States mean. Similar to the engagement slide, we have this by grade level. The numbers go down, but not as drastic as we saw with engagement, but the hope levels do go down by grade level. So it's, again, just a continued focus of ours to look at the middle school and high school classrooms and ensure that the engagement and the hope that is created at elementary continues at middle school and high school. The last two are, one of the last two is entrepreneurial aspiration. This is about students being innovative and having ideas. We scored well here, again in comparison to U.S. schools. The last one is about career and financial literacy. There's a question here about they're going to own a business in the future, and so we must remain cognizant of the financial literacy aspect in classrooms and make sure that we are talking to students about the future. These were the demographics that were defined the students who took this survey this year. It tells you their grades and what they think about their grades and what they think about their attendance rates. The last slide is a paper that we gave out at our last leadership meeting. So this is our plan to begin with engagement, and we've asked our principals to start the plan at their campuses about what we can do differently. For example, one of our lowest questions was about students having a mentor, and so we can easily put in some activities that would allow for students to have a mentor. So in conclusion, our focus is engagement and hope. We have engaged students, we have hopeful students, but we know that we can work to increase those percentages.
All right, thank you. Ms. Brigham.
Thank you for the report. But first of all, I'm a big advocate about, but and I appreciate doing this. What I'm a little concerned about is moving forward. And I do like that last page. When I was at home, I was trying to figure out where that would go. And I was looking at the administration. You know, we do a great job. CISD, you know, the kids' improvement plans. And if we really want to see this change, I think we need to put it in a document like that. And also, too, other things. And I know Ms. Trout's been an advocate for this, and I know we've had, but I think we really need to look at more counseling. We need more people in counseling, not less. And they need to be the boots on the ground at the campuses. And so when you look at, yes, overall, the 50%, 39, 45, but if you add the stuck, and, you know, and the hope, the 54%, that's half the kids. And we need to address those half of those kids. And if we have disengaged kids, then it also becomes even a safety issue that we're very concerned about. But So I guess what I'm gonna ask, Mr. President, is if we could solidify this with already the documents that exist. Don't create something new. We have a wonderful program for the campus improvement plans that they turn in that's linked to money, that's linked to funding sources. I think, and God forbid, budgeting, you know what I mean, so that we can look, that we give this social and emotional quotient, make it more important than it is. That we're not putting enough funds in that area, and I think this report is wonderful, it's a great thing to start. I think we still have 53% of kids that are stuck or worse. So, but thank you so much for the report. I enjoyed reading it. And if we could just solidify those efforts, Dr. Galaviz, into the SIPs. Thank you so much.
Well, and as a quick response, Nicole Morales, our new lead counselor, and I, along with Marnie Rocha, we've talked about ways to incorporate this into the classroom so that it doesn't fall solely on the counselors. You understand the social emotional aspect is huge. It is aligned with the safety of our students. So one of those questions that they answered, I feel safe on this campus, had a lot, we don't know where they were coming from. Safety can be defined in a lot of different ways. Do they feel that they can make mistakes? Do they feel that the classroom environment is safe? And so all of that is the social emotional aspect of a student's mind. And so that is a focus area for us.
Anybody else, Mr. Bahan?
Yes, Ms. Vigil, one of the big issues, again, I keep repeating this, when I was part of the DAC, again, one of the big issues was parental engagement. And to some extent, well, to a large extent, I think, figuring out a way to get the parents engaged in these kids, I don't know, it's a daily, weekly, monthly activity at school. And I know we discussed this at the last meeting, reaching out to the parents on the weekends, and you were doing this at Davenport and I think Childress. And I think getting kids involved and interested, and especially the parents, it has to be the parents' involvement also, because I think that's where a lot of kids lose the hope that their parents are not actively engaged in their education. And I think, I don't know how the school district, or probably through your activities on the weekends. And again, I know we've discussed this at the DAC, you get more parents involved in coming to the district advisory committee meeting, finding out what's going on at the school. And I don't know how you can work that out, Mr. Galaviz, but I think improving that parental engagement issue to a large extent. Thank you again for the report.
Sure, and Gallup sends us some guidelines as to how we can increase the percentages in all of these areas. And so they have some ideas for us that we can try.
Mr. Rodriguez.
I do. Thanks for the report once, and I think it's a great opportunity to team up and actually do this with Gallup. One of the things that we've looked at in the past, and I don't know if Mr. Bonanno remember, I remember when I was in college and the orange sheet that you would get pretty much evaluating that semester in that class. And maybe we could go more of a micro on this to get that feedback internally, and then maybe some feedback for however that's distributed. But I think that's something good. I'm glad we're actually doing this, but maybe we could look at it more of a micro level.
Thank you.
Cheryl.
Associate Superintendent Ms. Vigil, I'm going to say something good. I was so happy to read overall the part where it says an entrepreneurial aspiration. I'm so happy to see that there's a 3.03 students that they plan to start their own business. And also 1.51%, they already started their own business. You know that I'm a businesswoman and I love that, like you, Mr. Coronado. So I'm so happy to see the kids that are enthusiastic and that are motivated for the business. So we need those kids here. So thank you very much, and it's a good opportunity to know these results, and congratulations for students as well. Thank you.
Anything else? I won't comment, but I appreciate the report. And you do need to focus on some of those areas that I guess, ago, but there's one other resource that we might be able to take into account is that we're still doing our yearly survey of our own kids, our own survey of our kids. And maybe we can start looking at some of those other questions in that and maybe expand on some of those issues related to what we want to do. So I think that would be a great resource to delve a little deeper into those areas by that survey we did. When is that going to happen?
We'll do it in the spring. We
Spring?
can do it in the spring.
Get another avenue to also stick in some additional survey questions in there regarding this. Just an idea. Anybody else? No? All right. Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next agenda item.
Item B, discussion and possible action regarding contracted services for security and police.
I'd like to invite Chief Carrillo and Officer Oscar Acosta, please.
Chief, good evening, Dr.
Your
Gallagher.
word, Chief. You can sit right here.
Oh, come on.
You can sit right there, please. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Officer Acosta, for being in our schools. We appreciate you. I saw one of your youth today at AMS. Over there. One thing's board, again, we hired the Chief of Police as an expert in safety and security. In 2018, it's a lot different. The threats compared to 1984, compared to when I was in. So, Elaine briefs me probably every other week on things that they're seeing in the school. One thing I wanted to show the board that they're spending $30,000 a month because having additional police officers comes at a price. And so I sat down with Chief and Officer Acosta in finance to say, okay, what do you need, Chief? So one of the things we have increased is police officers. Right now he has 2 police officers, Chief, and there's 1 in vacancy. And as we increase our police officer, we'll reduce our dependency on contracted services. Right now, according to the Chief, again, correct me if I'm wrong, we have 8 police officers, 8 contracted police officers to your 2 police officers that cover the school. I asked Chief, tell me what you need. Chief says, you need 7 contracted police officers, along with once we get our 3rd officer. Is that correct, Chief?
That's correct, sir. Once we get our 3rd one, we'll take 1 contracted service and make it 7 officers.
So we had finance do the numbers. It comes out to about $168,000. We have 98 days of school left. Also, we have some overtime that our own officers might acquire, because again, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, our last day of school. Hopefully, Miss Melendez and her jingle bells will all hear it while she walks out of the building and everybody's safe. But again, sorry. But we also have some overage charges. Again, I just want to let the board know that our recommendation is to take $200,000 general fund in order to next 98 days of school. This is a brand new concept of County having police officers, but the community very clear on a police officer present. They don't want rent-a-cops, they want EPPD, they want experienced cops along with our police officers working together. So Chief, if you'd like to add something.
No, I appreciate all of you taking your time to listen to us when it comes to the safety of our school district. For us, our kids are the most important thing that we have. There's no value on our kids. I still have one of my daughters still going to the high school, so I always say that if she's safe, over 6,000 of the kids are going to be safe, because that's what it is. We have to work together. The board, us as police officers, law enforcement, as well as our community, working together to keep our kids. So I appreciate for you all to consideration to maintain contracted services with us. It's very important to keep that, for them to be out there, to be visible at our campuses, if they're driving around in one of our vehicles, we know that they're available if something happens, whether it's an elementary school, middle school, or high school. You've seen recently, there's been incidents where individuals have wanted to confront our kids in elementaries. So we can't take any one of our campuses for granted, and we have to make remain vigilant when it comes to all of our schools, whether even our central office. This is a prime location that we need to maintain that law enforcement presence.
Anybody? Sir?
I'm not sure if this is right in line with what we're talking about, but during our election, it was brought front and center to me day after day that they need either a crossing guard. I was asked for a police person at Domion, that the traffic is so bad in the afternoons there that they would like to have a policeman direct the traffic. And for whatever, I'm all for your agenda item here, but it'd sure be nice. It only takes like 40 minutes.
You know what? A lot of our campuses would like to have that.
Yeah.
We brought that up, that many of our campuses, the way they were designed,
Yes.
they were not designed for today's population, whether it's our area, whether it's in our schools, and the traffic. We have to deal with those problems today. Now, it makes it very difficult for us to be able to have an officer at each one of those locations, but we try to get them out there, as well as our security, and help out as much as possible when it comes to the traffic congestion.
They would really like to see one there at the courthouse.
Yes.
And I'd also like to echo what our speaker spoke at the table, that I got that report this morning. I got the CIA report about 2 months ago, and then I got the new report, and the way it's laid out, it's really nice. I hope you all will use it, look at it. It's right
I am not, I think we need, but bothers me very much. It's December, and we're asking for this money. I know in June, July, we asked multiple times, is there going to be enough money? And we were told, yes. So I'm aggravated that we have 100 days left of school, and we're in the holes. And what I'm not against the, yeah.
Sorry, Michi.
Oh yeah, that's right, I'm looking at the right person.
Either way.
That's right.
The holidays.
It is, and what I'm saying, not just you, Dr. Galavis, it's not just you, sir, but I asked Ms. McCoskey also,
I'm gonna take the hit.
Yeah, but
having police officers is brand new.
But
having to the extent that we have in this district is brand new. And to tell chief, we gauge on how many police officers he's going to get. And so again, I'll take the hit, and you can make your comment. But again, this is about safety, security of our kids. So
and Dr. Galavis, I understand that, and I am a little offended that you think, because we asked the question on budgeting, that we don't think that we want the safety of our children, which we do. Of course we do.
I'm not saying.
But what I'm saying is, we need to come up with a much better, comprehensive budget, because every year, we do not have money for teachers, and now we don't have money for police officers. When we are guaranteed, the budget that we have it. That's all I'm saying. And that's all, sir. So what I'm going to say is to definitely look at the contracted services and make sure that the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, we get the right people, right areas, and that we also look at the people that came in and look at the areas that they're concerned about. You know what I mean? Because I do think we need to spread them out a little bit more. And then my comment to the administration is give the board good numbers. This year, I'll give it a walk. Like Dr. Galavis said, this is a new program. But we didn't plan right. If we're coming in and we're so short, and you could almost say the same thing, that we're not meeting the needs of what we were here for. And it's I've gotten people that says, why don't we have them? And I don't want to ever use money as an example for that. Okay, sir? So thank you for what you do.
I appreciate your comment, man. Just like Dr. Galavi said, this is this is something new for Canopio. Canopio is not a police department, and we just need all departments as well as you all to recognize what we do and how we're working together with education to maintain our campus safe.
I agree. I agree. It's up to the board.
Chief, thank you for everything you do. Just a quick question for you. Can you tell us what the distribution is of these officers that you're getting, where they're going to be allocated to?
What we do, sir, is, when it comes to personnel, we don't really like to discuss it in public, or when it comes to personnel, where we assign our officers for safety reasons. But all 7 officers that are coming on board, as well as the 8th one until we get our additional police officer to come on board, they're going to be spread out throughout the district at our campuses. Of course, many times we have El Paso police, the sheriffs, that they have training, they switch their days off, and it makes it difficult. So sometimes we're going to have all 8, and sometimes we're going to have maybe 4 officers that are working for us. But we will maintain that safety and the security of our campuses. We will respond to any calls, and it's high importance for
us. Just real quick, I know there was somebody in the community that wanted to speak, but I think the PIO might have mentioned that. If there's any other questions in regards to that, I guess you could address as chair. One of the things that, going back to cells, if you're not comfortable with any or one or more questions, you could probably, if not, we could go into executive session because I think it does allow in regards to security. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then the question that I had, well, one, you have the CIA report, you have the current administration's report that just came out, and you're going to have a legislative session within this coming year. And so I know there's several discussions in regards to that, whether it's funding, whether it's non-funded mandates. So that stuff, I'm hoping that within the next budget we look at when that legislation comes out to make sure that it's addressed. So that's probably some of the other stuff that we need to look at. The question that I had in regards to the FY19, or as of the FY18, currently the FY19, what would be the difference in contracted services?
Well, I believe in January, we moved up after we had our safety and security summit that we had at Canopio High School. We raised up the number of contracted services to, from 3 officers, we raised it up to 8 officers throughout the district. And that's why there was an increase from the fiscal year of 18 to 19.
So are we transitioning security guards out to officers, or we're not?
No, we still have security officers. We have 5 security officers for the district, as well as the 3 police officers, including myself, and 1 reserve officer, auxiliary officer that works for us. Yes.
And the one that we currently have in the budget, when would that be?
We're in the hiring process of that, sir.
I guess one of the things is just looking at it in the budget process, but that will come with us in following year. So that should be it. And I did want to comment in regards to police officers. The discussion that we had over the last year was making sure that they're well trained, well equipped in regards to that. So I see that as a concern, and that was something that was discussed, and I hope we all next budget, and hopefully once it's done, I'll be consistent. Thank you for what you all do.
All right, thank you. Trustees, anybody else?
I know it's against protocol, but I have something important. I think this is the appropriate venue. If I can just have 1 second.
Sir, just a minute, and I will address the board, and we will, the board, will pull the board if we are willing to suspend the rule with respect to that, pull the board. Are you okay?
Yes, sir. Yes.
All right, I think we're in unanimous agreement to do that, sir.
Sure, thank you. So obviously we all care about our
Would you
kids.
like to come to the microphone?
I think it's unanimous that we all are concerned with our kids' safety. So I don't think, thank you for what you do. I appreciate it. It's a community effort. We're all in this together. So I just wanted to throw out that at first because I don't want to offend anybody. So I think I am very well qualified to talk about security because that's what I do for a living. I'm a Special Forces Green Beret. That's what I get paid a lot of money to do. So one of the things, it's working smarter with what the limited resources that we have. We're talking about very small number of police officers. To be realistic, proper training, that's very subjective to what we can do, but if we can fortify our schools a little bit and improve procedures, do threat vulnerability assessments, just like we do fire drills, and we can do it internally, that way we can identify weak points. These students know these schools better than we do, to be quite honest. So if you look at all these reports of how all these shooters mainly attacked these schools, it's because these kids knew exactly where these vulnerability points were. So I think if we can spend some type of time in a different venue, like a security council meeting or something like that, and we can address, hey, look, there's multiple points of entry, there's no security guard over here, how can we reinforce this piece? I think we'll, because they're still getting paid, right? So how do we maximize the efficiency of these police officers and teachers as well? People talk right now in the media arming teachers. That's extreme, right? And it's all depending on what you guys think. But we can use teachers to be eyes vigilant type sensors. We call those sensors. Just little types of protocol procedures, little drills that I would love that we start including. I personally went to Cantillo High School. I walk anywhere. I walk in a mall, I walk in here, I pick out tons of vulnerability things, and I'm always, it's just my nature. I would love maybe if we can kind of put something on the docket, on the agenda, to make the best use of our resources. And I can expand on ideas. A lot of these things, like we said, for security purposes, you don't want to let tactics out. You don't want to let procedures, protocol to the public out, because then if they know, they can counter it. So I just, for my position in life, I think I can add value to it and kind of make our schools much more safer. I was practicing baseball with my kid the other day, and there was a shooting out at the Cantillo field. Police officers responded. I'm like, holy moly, what are we doing about it? I won't take any more of your time. Suggestion to improve the overall safety. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Chief.
Sir, just to let you know, we do have a safety and security committee, and there's some committee members that are here in the audience, and they'll get with you afterwards, and then we can discuss it, and we can do a follow-up with you. Appreciate your comments. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else? Yes, another community member. Please come up and address.
Sorry, I got here. I thought the meeting was at 5:30. So I do work at the high school. I'm one of the nurses at the high school, and I work very closely to all the police officers in the district. I know the security has changed from a few years ago. From now, I've been there since I've been there for 10 years, and I know that it has changed. It's changed. I mean, 5 years ago, I don't know how long you guys have been there, but I worked without Anthony PD, and it was very different from then to now. Now we have many issues that need to be, as when the PD calls the ambulance, they get sooner than when we call. So I know, like, I feel safer that they're there as a staff member, as a parent. I do advocate. I know the budget came up, Ms. Brigham, and I feel that it is a priority. We need to prioritize better. We need to prioritize what is more important, and the safety and security of our kids are more important. And for us parents or for a community, I'm a community member as well, and I feel that we need to advocate more for that security system to be even better than it is now, like the camera systems at the high school that we used to have. I remember when the securities, we were able to see what was going on, and now it's no longer there. We don't have that security system where we can see some areas of the high school, or that they can see them at the high school. As far as, like, I know security, and we have security and police officers, I know sometimes we have 2 emergencies at once, And so some of them have to respond to one, and some of the other ones have to respond to the other ones. Maybe some of you don't know very well what goes on in the high school because there has changed since I was back in high school in Canutillo. It's very, very different now. So I will translate a little bit in Spanish para nuestros papás que están o que escuchan por el internet. Es tan importante tener un sistema de seguridad muy importante. Estoy de acuerdo con la seguridad de los padres que están escuchando o que están viendo para que tengamos policías en el distrito. El Departamento de Policía del Paso ha sido un gran apoyo para nosotros, especialmente para los trabajadores y para la comunidad, para los estudiantes. El simple hecho de ver un uniforme se siente uno más seguro. Para nuestros padres, gracias por apoyar, porque nosotros somos parte de la comunidad y apoyamos con el dinero pagando taxes. Somos los que pagamos los taxes aquí en la comunidad. Somos nosotros, yo trabajo para este distrito, pero aparte pago mis taxes para que estos señores, gracias por su servicio, tengan ese trabajo, igual nosotros. Entonces hagamos nuestro trabajo por los estudiantes y por la seguridad de los que estamos aquí. Gracias.
Thank you.
Just two, and one was thank you for your service, Mr. Venegas, but maybe we could use your service on the committee, and I believe that will be talked to you a little bit after. With that, I wanted to ask Dr. Galavis, was this a recommendation? And with that, I'll move to approve Dr. Galavis' recommendation.
All right. We have a motion and a second to approve the recommendation from administration on this item. Do we have any further discussion from the board? If not, Sonia, poll the board, please.
Yes, sir. Ms. Brigham?
Yes.
Mr. Coronado?
Yes?
Mr. Payan?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mrs. Searles?
Yes.
Mrs. Trout?
Definitely, yes.
And Mrs. Iglesias?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, next agenda item.
Item C, discussion and possible action to fund miscellaneous projects using bond funds previously committed to the Gunfield Middle School wastewater sewer project.
Good evening, Board President, Board members, Dr. Galavis. In 2012, CISD entered an agreement with El Paso Public Service Board for the construction of infrastructure that would allow CISD to get rid of our wastewater treatment plant by extending sewer lines to a new regional lift station across the river. Because PSD was the originator of the project, and because CISD was tying into a fraction of that project, it was agreed that PSD would lead the project, meaning that they would hire engineers, secure permits and bids, secure contracts, and provide construction administration services on our behalf. CISD is responsible for paying a portion of the project and for any change orders incurred during the construction of said project. Because of these provisions, and because this is part of a larger infrastructure project, PSD has not yet begun the actual construction. It's not up to us to dictate what the PSD timeline is regarding this project. Despite that, we periodically track the progress and request status updates from both PSD and the engineer of record. To date, the engineer of record has made 3 quote-unquote final submissions to Public Service Board, and they have requested modifications or additions to the project. They had a bid opening once. The quotes came over the budget, and this forced PSB to come back and do value engineering and modify the scope of the work. In addition to all of those setbacks, the engineer and Public Service Board had to secure permits from both Texas Commission on Environmental Quality and the International Boundary Water Commission. This morning, when I spoke again with Ivan Hernandez, the project manager from Public Service Board, he told me that both agencies have agreed to issue the permits. Not necessarily issued the permits, but agreed to issue the permits. So there seems to be a path forward, and PSB will try to advertise again for bids at the end of January. Their timeline is that proposals will go to the board and their board in March, and if all goes well, groundbreaking is expected sometime in April. Because it's very close to the irrigation season, they're going to break the contract into separate components, and they will do some part of the work before irrigation starts, and they will resume construction in October when they can clear the riverbed. With all this being said, again, if everything happens as they have in this new timeline, the anticipated completion date for this project is going to be late 2020. So, if you remember, several of the original bond projects were either over the budget or were deferred, but we still have that money available. Having that money available prevents us from going for an actual bond that we can actually tackle the big budget projects that everybody knows we need. So this is why our recommendation is, let's make sure that we spend this money knowing also that we can go to the local funds and pay for that infrastructure project that we're not saying that we don't need, we absolutely need. But we're also at the mercy of the Public Service Board. So this is one of the reasons why we're again coming to you with a set of a project that we could fund using this money that is available right now. There are, if you ask me, there's a long list of projects that we could do. If you ask any of the principals, they'll spend that same amount of money in their campus only. And so I think that, everybody has mentioned it before, that, coming together as a team and coming up with whatever projects you tell me to do, I'll gladly do. But we need some directions from you.
Mr. President, one of the comments from our bond council is having bond money from 2006, 2012 still there. I got here in 2013. This water project was supposed to be executed within six months, and we're still sitting here, this 1.3. Yes, I understand the Jumbotron, it was a want, this is a need, but it was put on, it's put on. I talked to Coach Brooks about the turf, where we didn't need the turf. Yes, my answer. That was more of a critical need. So it's taking this 1.3 and using it for projects, and that's why we're bringing it to the board as for discussion. One of the other things that we're looking at is updating our security cameras. So we asked Chief and our technology to go around and give us just a roundabout what needed critical need. So again, we are looking at the postponed projects, and our goal is just to use this 1.3 million. Now the question, what if the Public Service Board says, I want that one? Well, we have a healthy fund balance. So we could go into our fund balance to go, are we gonna, again, I don't wanna sit here and wait for the Public Service Board to decide how we're gonna spend our 1.3, because as I've learned from the bond, what you proposed in 2011, the prices keep escalating, they keep going up. Yeah, hence when I first got here, our bond was $9 million in the hole. So again, it's to be prudent to the taxpayer, and not to hide anything, and that's why we're here. So, and we're here to talk about this. Not to dump, or not to stump, or not to call people out, just to talk.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Luis. Mr. Payat?
My first reaction when I first saw this item was, we don't need a jumbotron, and I still maintain to that. There's so many other critical needs that the district has. Security cameras, for one. I know, again, I go back to the District Advisory Committee. We discussed this 3 years ago. You were there, Mr. Carrillo was there. We discussed the issue of cameras. And we were told that the money was not there. I would venture to suggest we need to spend as much money on cameras and security for the campuses, for the schools, because our kids are more important than anything else in this community. We have to do that. Jumbotron would be nice. We don't have money for being nice. We need security for our kids. The AstroTurf, I would have a big discussion, but if we have money to fund this project with local funds, let's put the local funds on the AstroTurf. My first inclination was have whoever needs to go, the board president, superintendent, go to the board, and whoever is the head of the public service board has not committed to doing this, they have a board of directors that he answers to. This project, when first initiated back in 2011, but the issue was brought up in 2011, that thing was overflowing years before that. The stench in the community around the school was horrible. The kids were getting sick. I don't know how we resolve this, but I don't think we need to spend that kind of money on the Jumbotron. And if we have the money in the general fund, let's spend it on the AstroTurf. There's other projects here, the dugouts, the CTE classrooms, acoustic panels, exterior windows. Let's spend that money on that. If that's what we're going to spend the money on anything. But my first priority would be security, cameras. We have to, I know we can, the gentleman says we can reinforce our campuses. There's certain vulnerabilities in the campuses. Let's look at them. If we have to put up gates, put up gates. If we have whatever, please, a Jumbotron, I don't think so. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Payan. Anybody else? Ms. Rose.
Yes, Mr. Vasquez, I was wondering, I see on here you've got CMS number 1 and 2, the CTE classrooms, construction, electricity for $50,000 and irrigation well for $15,000. Is this for the new building?
No, ma'am. This would be where we currently have an open space that we use for surplus storage. That big area would be used for electricity and construction trades, CTE classes.
At the middle school?
Yes. So it's not in where the agricultural facility is. It's a separate building within that same complex.
And Mr. Karski, can we use CTE funds at the middle school?
This isn't CT.
Oh, okay. Okay. But it's going to have to, if you're building these classrooms, we're going to have to support it with something, yes?
We have to ask our council and bond council about CTE, where we can use bond money for CTE.
No, this is bond money for construction of school facilities.
But
we're limited in.
I agree, and I really like the thought. I'm just thinking forward that if we need trades. I'm totally for CT. I think everyone knows that. But that would then, Dr. Galvez, continuing funds to keep these programs going in. And would that be a problem? Oh, okay. Thanks.
Anybody else? Mr. Trout?
Yes.
Mr. Vasquez, let's say that we decide to say yes. with this amount of money that we have here, 1,319,363, will be enough to fulfill the rest of the needs, because just only adding 678,716 and 489 is 1,168,449. But we still have more issues to cover. Is it going to be enough money?
Well, like I said, if you ask me, I can come up with a list of 4.6 million.
You have the list? Do you have any list?
Well,
That you have any deficiencies in facilities?
I have it in my mind.
Could we know?
Working with, yes, of course, I can provide that list to you all. Having
Right
said
now,
that,
do you have something on mind that you think that
well,
would be like or
yes,
priority list?
I can think of, just walking into this meeting tonight.
Oh, okay.
The regrading of the central office parking lot. You see how it's really steep to going? That's a project.
Board, may I suggest something? Sorry, Mr. Vasquez.
Yes.
How about if we, my suggestion would be that maybe what we do is take out this money from the jumbo fund and set it out there for now. And let's focus on maybe the turf and these other items, and then that 489, let's set up instead of the jumbo fund, let's focus on some of these areas, but let's have a more concrete list of priorities of those, of what other things we need to do with that 489,000. I agree, I think we need to do evaluation of our priorities and with that 489,000. And maybe vote on these other things, because one of the things is that they've had this money around for 7 years now. And it is becoming a problem for us. It is. Administration's told us we can certainly we have backup money to do the wastewater. It's not that we're not gonna do it, so it's not that issue. The issue is we need to close this out. So I think what we need to do is focus on maybe voting on some of these items today, and that 489, let's come back, let's have administration, Mr. Vasquez, give us some recommendations, and maybe contact, but obviously in line with what the bond regulations are. Obviously, our council can get involved to advise us as to what.
We've got an opinion from Mr. Brady to use these funds for school facilities and construction purposes.
Okay. So, yes.
It would certainly be very helpful if I come back with a list of projects. If we come back with a list of projects, then we can have, a discussion about, okay, let's do this, let's not do that. Right? Yes, of course.
Prioritize those items. I'm sure we're going to have a lot more needs than 489,000.
Of course.
Mr. Vasquez?
Yes, ma'am.
Does this go hand in hand with the facilities master plan? Your ideas of what needs to be taken care of?
Not 100%. And the reason for that is that the assessment that was made for the facilities master plan was done again many years ago. So new needs have accumulated. As much as we try to keep everything under control, some of our campuses are older than others. We try to take care of everything. Case in point, construction that's needed at the high school for a new dental lab. That we did that in-house. We saved the district over $12,000 just on materials, because we were able to use the labor force that we have at our disposal. So we're very creative in what we can do to help the district, but there's only so much time and so much money that we can use. So to answer your question, no, some of these are new needs that are identified.
Ms. Earls.
Yes, sir. It would seem prudent to me that we've got two ex-CDAC members here.
Current ex.
Yeah, well,
She's current.
Current, okay, she's the last living one. We've got some interested parents here tonight, some community members. It would seem like maybe we could form an ad hoc committee to look at this and make a recommendation back to the board of what do our campuses need. I have to tell you, when I look at this, it breaks my heart. There's nothing for that. I know they've got things. We've got, there are needs, and I'm thinking an ad hoc committee has a beginning, has an end, has a purpose, and possibly that would work. We seem to have interest in.
My suggestion would be that we let administration take care of that with the CISD committee. But I suggest that we instruct administration and have Mr. Vasquez first get a list of items that he feels are pressing and priority that we require, and then bring it to the committee and have administration cut them out.
Do you plan to take action on this item?
Yes. Ms. Britton.
First of all, I agree with what folks I am opposed. So many needs, and XCDAC also being on deck, seeing priorities. And Jumbotron never came up on it. So it's not. But you also think, I'm very much in support of what you said, President. The only thing I would also ask administration to look at, and I think that can be spent with bond money, is if we look at the high school, right now we have about 10 coding teachers. And I believe, I know all this, anywhere from, so what I'm saying, and I know it's a bad word, but we need to put border, we need to get kids in classrooms sooner than later. I'm sure, we put in an early college high school, which was great, giving them portable. When you even look at the culinary arts that used to be up here, now it went down there, that took over a couple of classrooms. So they're going to be at a crisis, and if you look at it. So I think if administration, again, Mr. Vasquez's help, Dr. Beal's help, I think come up with something. I know we can use, I believe we can use bond funds for that too. And I agree with Mr. Hanan, there's no reason why we have cameras up that aren't working. So I would agree. So Mr. Madam, how do you address the president? Because I understand Madam President, and I was thinking this kept me up last night. Do I go Mr. President, or do I go Mr. Chair?
Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. I'm sitting there. Okay. Okay, so Mr. Chair, how would I recommend? So how do we do that? Do we have to do a motion to take out the 4-H? Take out.
My suggestion would be.
We need to take them one at a time.
Oh, okay, I'm
We
sorry,
have
sir.
separate agenda items, so this item is only to discuss and approve funding miscellaneous projects using bond funds. Either you're going to agree to do that, or you're not going to agree to do that. Administration's proposing now, so there'll be some action taken on that. Then the next item, you can direct, you can table, ask them for a list, whatever you want to do.
So first, the agenda item as it reads, okay, is to redirect. So we would first need a motion to do that, to redirect the funds. Then we can entertain a motion that we approve some of these projects and then table the rest for discussion at a later date. So that would be my recommendation. Mr. Mayor.
I like your suggestion. I would emphasize also that, and I like Mrs. Searle's suggestion also, that we form an ad hoc committee of the bond committee that was here before, along with other members, that they get together and make those suggestions also, because I think, again, the campus security has to be a big part of this, and that's not included in this list of projects that we are looking at. So I would.
Many things are not included here, Mr. President.
Sorry?
So many things are not included
No, but
here.
I think security in the campuses is one of the priority items that we have to look at completely. And I was, I think the compromise will have to be between your suggestion that we approve some of these projects that are already on the list and Mrs. Searle's suggestion that we form that ad hoc committee to give us, they have the campus improvement committee that they get together and suggest to that what to do, what they need. They know exactly what they need, and they make those recommendations to us. I would say have the campus improvement committees meet, come up with some serious suggestions, bring them to the board, go from there.
I'll second that.
They're gonna go all over Mr. Chairman, a question. Is this committee is gonna go to the whole campuses? Every campus, right? Not only one or here, all the campuses
All
that we
the
have in the
campuses.
district,
So
right?
what we've done in the past is meet with the different campus improvement committees. Like everything else, some are more active than others. Every year, every campus has an allotment of a certain amount of money that's used for improvements. What we call improvements. It's not, I always give the principals this example. If you have a door that's broken, we fix it with local funds from my budget. But if it's a door that you don't have and you need, then that's an improvement. Does that make sense? So we go through all those processes and we work with the principals, we work with some of the parents, different levels of engagement. This will give us an opportunity to bring everybody onto the table and have their say and come up with that list.
And I would emphasize that, Mr. Galaviz, get the principals and tell them, this is critical for your campuses. If you have different levels of participation, there's no excuse for not participating in this issue right now because, you know, it's critical.
All right, Board, my suggestion is first I'd like to entertain a motion that we redirect the funds. Then we can talk immediately after that about how we're going to do that. Do I hear a motion?
And I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second by Ms. Kraft, is that correct?
Yes.
Just explain that motion.
Yeah, the motion right now is to redirect the funds that were initially earmarked for the wastewater treatment project for other projects.
That's all we're voting on right now. Thank you, sir.
So, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If
I
not,
have one. It has nothing to do with this list. All it has to do with $1.3 million. Okay.
Okay, Sonia?
Yes, sir. Ms. Brigham?
Yes.
Mr. Coronado?
Yes.
Mr. Payan?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
I abstain.
Mrs. Searles?
Yes.
Mrs. Trout?
Yes.
And Mrs. Iglesias?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Thank you, Board. Now,
Item
let's
Can
talk
you repeat the
about
amount, please, that we approved?
1.319363.
Thank you, sir. Chairman.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Something?
No. With respect to the items that, right now, that are the proposed bond projects, on the back page that has been handed to us, my suggestion for sure is that we leave out the LED display and have, I would like that the board to approve the rest of those items and the turf and put the 489,000 and change for discussion on other items. The other items with respect to like the field house conversion, irrigation well, CPE, classrooms construction, electricity, I really would not like to have those items delayed. So I'd like to see if we could vote on particularly those.
Point 1 to 4, Mr. Chairman?
Excuse me?
From 01 to 04?
Right, leave out the LED display and then put the others, just get those started and let the 500 or close to the $500,000 come up with other projects.
Mr. Corrales, can I make a suggestion?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
If you now approve the redirection of the $1.3 million in bond funds, you have a list tonight. Many of those items are 1 to 3. The Jumbotron and the field turf are 2 separate agenda items.
Right.
So take those immediately out of the list.
Right.
Now what you would do, if any of those remain, once approved tonight, you can approve those tonight.
Okay.
You can't add anything because it's not presented to the board.
Right.
So can I make a motion to, I think, I would like to make a motion to take out and cease discussion on the Jumbotron out of
That's a separate agenda item, so we can.
Oh, that's a separate agenda item.
Yeah,
Okay,
so-
I
I'm just
apologize.
suggesting if you want to approve something from the proposed bond project, the administration is presenting to you, with the exception of the turf and the jumbotron, because those are separate items. There's a list of approximately 10 items that they presented for your consideration tonight. You can approve any or all of those, or you can say, no, we want to leave the list.
Sure. Yes, Mr.
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Bennett.
So we're gonna eliminate the jumbotron.
But they're separate.
For now, yes,
My question is, where are we gonna incorporate the feedback from the campus improvement committee? You know, because like Mrs. Searle says, there's nothing here for Davenport.
So we're gonna have
I'm sure they have some needs,
We're gonna have administration come back and give us a proposal.
but also the security issues, there's nothing here on security, again.
And Mr. Payan, that is one of the reasons why you would be eliminating some of these projects, so that we can come back and say, okay, now we have this much money now to go after some of the security projects or some of the other projects that we want to.
So we're gonna go down the list and eliminate and keep, or we're gonna approve all of them.
Well, right now, my suggestion is that we're gonna discuss the jumbotron and the turf as separate items, so let's not even discuss those right now.
Okay.
My suggestion right now is that we approve the baseball batting cage, the field house version, the CMS irrigation well, the CTE classroom, the acoustic panels, the stage ramp, and the playground resurfacing. That doesn't amount to, it's 148,000 out of the 1 point whatever million. I would like to see us go ahead and start on those projects now, and then let's discuss the rest of the money.
I
Do you have that?
I have a motion.
Can somebody check off the other?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion.
I'll make it clear.
Mr. Chairman, this is not the same list that we had here, the board book, right?
No, we updated it.
And we'll definitely make this an attachment, so we have to yeah. So, do I hear a motion?
I have a question.
Yes,
How do we
Mr.
know that all this costs this?
Listed right there.
But I mean,
Those are preliminary estimates that I've composed, and in talking to some of the subcontractors, you know, we're not just pulling numbers, it's just
a
based on our
conservative
professional
estimate,
opinion.
I understand, yes, sir.
I move to make a motion.
This, Brigham,
Yes. Okay, make sure I say this right. I move to make a motion to keep, or to recommend, to tell Mr. Heston.
to approve.
I move to, for the baseball batting cage, the field house, the CMS irrigation well, the CTE classrooms, the acoustic panels, the stage ramp, and the playground resurfacing. That we use all those items based on the best estimates that go forward with that from this bond issue.
And I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second, and I have a clarification issue for council. These items that are presented to us on the council, were these attached to the? are all of them-
So we had been working on this list for quite some time.
Okay.
Like I said, it's a long list.
Right.
The one that you received tonight is the one that has the most updated information.
Okay, all right.
But, Mr. Chairman, it's missing here at Norwest Early College Portable, right? It's not here.
Well, because if we were to include that, then we would be over the $1.3 million.
And we wouldn't have enough money.
Exactly. So, much like several other projects, we only have so much money.
Like some other projects.
Right. The motion is Brigham, and that is to?
Is to take, we're going to talk about the other two issues separately, and then everything else that is listed on the bond, proposed bond project. That says
Called attachment A.
yes, okay, thank you. Attachment A, December 2018, to everything from the baseball batting cage to CH03 all the way down to BC
Yes, 01.
All right. It's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items, is that correct?
Yes, sir, 148,000.
148,000.
48,000.
Approximately.
Yes, sir.
Right. I don't want to put an amount because that's preliminary estimates and I don't want
It
to.
might be changed, might to update it.
I would just say that the directed those projects be started from the funds that we have converted. So is that your motion?
Yes.
All right. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the board? If not, Sonia? Board?
Yes, sir. Ms. Brigham?
Yes.
Mr. Colorado?
Yes?
Mr. Payan?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Abstain?
Mrs. Searles?
Yes.
Mrs. Trout?
Yes.
And Mrs. Iglesias?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Next agenda item.
Item D, discussion and possible action regarding the replacement of the artificial turf at Canutillo High School using bond funds in the amount not to exceed $678,716.
Okay. Mr. Chair, before this, I'm going to abstain stepping out.
All right, Mr. Rodriguez.
But I've met with people and everything.
All right. But he's abstaining from the discussion on this item.
He's recusing.
The time is 7:02 and Mr. Rodriguez
And I think
is
he's
stepping
spoken
out.
with council already. Mr. Vasquez.
Okay, thank you. The artificial turf at the Canutillo High School needs to be replaced. We did some work last year with the board's authorization to do some repairs. When we did that work, the company that helped us out with that project did a test that measures, the hardness of the surface, to put it in certain terms. They gave us an estimated time life of another 1 year or 2 years, but this is just, their recommendation. It's just a verbal recommendation. Of course, they're not gonna sign any document saying you'll have a safe playing field for the next 2 years or so. The useful life of these types of fields is typically between 8 to 10 years. We're entering year 8 already, and so there's no way around it. We need to replace this turf. We went ahead and got quotes and had interviews with 4 different manufacturers. This type of product, I don't believe there's many more than these 4 companies in the country that perform these services. I personally have experience in working with 3 of them on projects that I did in my previous life. And so we interviewed them all.
Previous job.
Yes.
No, previous life.
Yes, of course, in private practice. One thing that was discussed at the committee is, of course, much like we were discussing tonight, the safety of the children. Artificial turfs have a long history. It's not a new product, but like everything else, it keeps the manufacturers, they hire engineers, they have to continue innovating on the products that they provide. One of the companies, the company that the committee is recommending, provides an extra layer of cushioning that softens the use of the field. It's not as hard. One of the other vendors was telling us how their system doesn't need it. But at the same time, we know that company is applying for their new line of products. Eventually will have that, they will have that offer as well. Not everybody offers the same thing, exactly the same, but we're basing this on the same type of a finished product, if you will. It's not a restrictive specification, it's a prescriptive specification. This is what we want at the end of all of this. And so the committee members felt, I think one of the comments was, who's going to be the one that's going to explain to the parents that, you know, we didn't want to purchase the extra layer of protection. So that was, it weighed heavy on the committee's decision.
All right.
And by the way, and that is an extra. On your packets, you have the base price for all the different manufacturers. So that is an alternate item that, you know, if the board wishes to consider, it's up to you to make that decision as well.
All right. What is the extra cost on that?
For that, they call it shock pad, and that extra is $158,000, $743. So it's not it's all over the subsurface of the entire field. Yes, ma'am.
Do we have that now?
No, we don't. We have. I'll be blunt. We don't have the best quality of turf that we could have.
But we're not a National Football League team.
Oh, no, we're not. No, absolutely not. But any of these, and I'll say it also, any of these 4 companies are offering a better product than what we have today.
Okay. And which of these was the least expensive?
Well, the least expensive is Sprinter, if you include all the alternates. And you also have to consider that, like I was saying before,
Please, can you put in the screen?
So they offer different systems. They broke down their proposal in different components. And so we went ahead and did the calculation of what each of the manufacturers is proposing.
So it looks like sealed turf comes in kind of right in the middle, not on the high side. And they do produce a good product?
Yes, like I said, I've worked with all of these companies before.
And you feel that field turf would do it good? They also are giving us the alternate of $8,000 a year in annual maintenance?
Correct.
And yet the cheapest one gives us more, or they just wrote it down?
No, they wrote it down differently.
Okay.
The price that I'm including in your packet includes additional expenses. Let me explain that. The actual turf gets nailed to a wood plank that's all around the perimeter. We don't know what the condition of that is, and we won't know until we pull all the material out. And so that's why whoever you choose, we should also have some additional contingency funds. And those funds are different for the different vendors. With the committee making the recommendation for one of these vendors, we included, that contingency for the nailer board, and also another contingency for minor repairs, hopefully, for the existing grade. Again, once it's like if you peel this carpet, who knows what's underneath?
Mm-hmm. I understand. It's the same wooden board around the carpet is that. So theoretically, Sprint turf or Sprint
turf.
Turf.
I'm sorry, that's a typo. Yes,
okay.
Turf. Sprint turf.
Sprint turf can get the job done for somewhere around $400,000, and that gives a contingency in there.
Well, they already have included the nailer board as one of their alternates. Not everybody included that as an alternate directly. We did get quotes from everybody to tell me, okay, tell me per linear foot what's the cost, and so they gave us that. We know how much each company would charge us, or if we had to replace the entire board.
And then I have another question. Alternate 3 says on Sprint turf, field maintenance equipment. So they give us the equipment and we have to do it. Versus, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, versus field turf that has annual maintenance.
Yes,
So they come in and
they come in and do the work.
for just 1 year?
I believe it was 4 years.
Well, that's good.
Can Mr. Brooks come up and explain some of these items? Yeah, Coach?
Yes, Coach.
Mr. Vasquez?
Yes.
Of those 4 that you have up there, will all of them offer that pad?
No.
Okay, and that's the cushioning.
And yes, and like I said before, that's the, speaking on behalf of the entire committee, I was a member of that committee. There were 5 people in that committee. That's one of the reasons what drove us to make this recommendation to you all.
What was that, I'm sorry?
The option of having the cushioning pad underneath the system.
Mr. Vasquez, how often does that have to be replaced? I know that those little balls, the little rubber balls, we've replaced those several times.
It doesn't have to be replaced.
So it is in lieu of the little balls?
No, it's part of the same system. The balls, what the rubber material and the sand, what they do is they make the fabric stand up.
Oh, okay.
So that pad is only offered by one of the vendors?
Correct.
Okay. And what's the lifetime on that pad?
Again, 8 years is their standard warranty.
30 years.
Oh, I'm sorry.
30 years.
And how long does the turf last?
8.
8 to 12.
So theoretically, you have that pad, you could replace the turf, so you keep that pad at the bottom and replace the turf on top of it without having to restart the pad.
With that information, I believe so, yes.
Chair.
Mrs. Brittle?
Okay. I'm on the same thing that you guys up there. Okay. And I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you are recommending that we need, Coach Brooks, you're recommending that we need a shark pad at about $150,000. Is that correct?
Yes.
My question is, do all these companies, other companies also give a shark pad?
No.
Okay, that's,
They don't manufacture their system to have that.
okay. So, all right, so the only one that has a shark pad is us.
Yes.
Right? So, but that's 158,000.
Correct.
But, so, I guess my question is, are we getting 150,000 more, worth it, is what I'm saying I mean, I'm not questioning that we need the field. What I'm questioning is, it's kind of hard to, it's kind of like we're talking apples and oranges here. You know what I mean? Because we have a 379, then we have to jump up to 632. And so, when you put out a bid, everybody should bid on everything that's in the bid. Or not.
Yes, it should be uniform.
And so that's...
This isn't uniform, that's why I'm so confused, and that's why I was confused. But they're all over the place, right? Yeah. Oh, I'm not questioning the bid process, yeah. I'm not questioning the field. What I'm questioning is, it's awful hard to try to say, this is the same as this. And it's a huge difference in price. So, I guess, let's just take the first two, which is spin, turf, okay, and then, second one, which is out, okay. So, my question is, to you, is the difference of 379 versus 632, a lot of money. Is it the product that much better?
it provides you with that additional layer of security and safety. So if the board wishes to compare, like you said, oranges to oranges, then the comparison should be done without the pad. And without the alternate two, another product that this company offers to keep the field cooler. The rubber pellets, they get hot really easily, and so they have another option for the field to be at a lower temperature. Again, considering the health, safety, and welfare of the kids playing. Now, so if the board wishes to compare a more standardized or a more apples to apples, oranges to oranges, then you would have to compare that price without those two alternates.
Okay, and thank you for answering some of my questions and having patience. So I'm having high trust with 158. That's all. And I guess Coach Brooks. Okay, my grandson plays football. and okay, so I'm asking you, sir. So the only one that offers the shark pad is Health. Is that correct, sir?
Correct.
Okay. When you put out the bid, did you put in for that shark pad, or was that like something? Aha, we didn't know that existed.
I directly contacted the 4 companies.
Okay.
Okay. And they took measurements. Most of them, I think, took aerial, right? Figured out square footage, and that's what they based it on. And so, spread turf, Ellis, field turf, and you see all the prices are pretty without the pad. Okay. The committee, and I will tell you, it was myself, I don't know if it was Ms. Pulley, Mr. Karski, Bruno, and then our girls soccer coach was on it. And the idea of the pad was, if we're going to do it now. Okay. The reason for spread turf not being up there, we don't know anybody in this area that has spread turf.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Take any of them.
They don't have. They don't have anybody in town. They don't have anybody in 4 or 5 hours, I think, that can even get here if we had an issue. Okay. Ellis and Field Turf both have crews in El Paso, so that was part of our reasoning why we liked them.
Okay.
AstroTurf was, there's no turf in El Paso by AstroTurf. They've kind of been out of, I think the last one they did was Coronado, their last field. So as far as how we picked, that's how we like the idea of having somebody in town.
I agree with that.
The pad, the reason all of us said if we're going to do it, let's add the pad, is to make it safer. And we're not just talking football, okay? So we're talking soccer, we're talking PE, we're talking ROTC, we're talking everybody. Isleta has the pads. All their new fields have the pads. Good friend of mine is the stadium director at Allen ISD, and called him and he says, we have the pads. So not at this meeting, this is afterwards. I knew that Isleta had. El Paso does not have the pad, I don't think, on all theirs. I don't know on the new ones that they do or they don't. Okay? So as far as the price, when we looked at it and sent it out, yes, we sent it out for turf replacement. Okay? I will say this, that every company that came and looked at our turf named the company without even looking at our turf to who did it and the quality of the work. And Mr. Vasquez and I, he asked when we got the turf fixed 2 years ago, the guy that came knew exactly who did the turf and said you got kind of ripped off, etc., etc. It's not a good turf. It's bad enough now that if I scrape my hand across of it, you can get off the turf off of it. So that part of it is, to me, it's not. We can live without the pad. I mean, that's not a thing. But if you want to know why we did the order we did and why we put the pad, they were the only ones there.
The other question I have, which I know when we put, well, I wasn't on the board, but I was in administration, and I remember one of the things, we're talking about that annual maintenance. Because I kind of like that annual maintenance.
Yes.
Remember, sir, we put in that stuff and we didn't have the equipment to do the field.
Right.
So my question to you and to the board is, are we gonna put in a field and not have the equipment to monitor the field again? And I think
the detailed book bids, they have the maintenance equipment in there, and they all will train our personnel how to work it.
because we didn't want to do that again.
Yes,
Okay.
it's all in there. The other thing is, every one of them offered an 8-year warranty that we did not have.
So I
We did not have before.
I guess to the board, you know, the only angst I have is the 158,000. But, and I absolutely honor what Coach Brooks and Mr. Vasquez says. I mean, you don't have to say anything more about the two companies as far as these. I get that too, okay? I think the biggest thing is, you know, I know a portable costs about $100,000. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm going back to instruction. Sorry, guys, I'm sorry. I just go back to the you know, and so I'm not doubting that we need the fields. I'm not saying that. So I guess Mr. Vasquez and Coach and Dr. Kelby's, you are recommending that we put in the shop pad.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm with Miss Brigham. I just heard $126,000 for technology at the elementary school. And that's for all the children, every one of them. And when I look at this, that's not for all the children. It's for some of them. And Coach Brooks, you know I support you 1,000,000%. That's not, you know, it's not a lack of support. I just feel that $160,000, if we've been playing okay, have we had a lot of hurt children? More than we used to have on the grass?
No.
Okay, the grass was the worst. This is
Not the
better.
worst, this is better. We did have an 8th grader with a very serious head injury this year that
He was in the hospital.
no, he had major surgery.
Playing at the middle school?
At the middle school. But
Okay, so
I'm
they
saying
don't have it.
They have turf, but what I'm saying is.
Yes.
I don't know that you can compare grass to turf. We don't have those things.
Yes, I understand, but just, are you seeing a high percentage of hurt kids on the turf that we have and have had for the past, I guess, 15 years?
Seeing a higher percentage? You're seeing more kids in the last year slip and get,
Because it needs to be changed. Okay.
Yeah, that's not, but I mean, I don't think you can tie the injuries to turf.
No.
And do you know what turf they have at Coronado?
They're fixing to replace it. They have the old asphalt.
Okay. And they weren't happy with, or it's,
worn really, really bad.
any thoughts on what they're gonna do?
I have no idea.
Thanks. Yeah, I just have a problem with all this money, and we've got like whole schools that.
Can I say this? Look, we can live with new turf. What the pad was added because we discussed it. I mean, not added, but we were told, but we didn't even know about a pad when we were presented. I mean, you know, we didn't know the technology existed. Okay, we were given what it looks like. It's about that thick. We asked questions about it. Does it, you know, it's 30 years guaranteed. Once you lay down the turf, lay the turf back on it. That's why we all agree if we're going to do this, let's pick this one. Okay? Can we live without it? Sure. Okay? It's new turf. I mean, that's you know, it's gonna be new turf either way. Do we 5 years from now find out that this stuff is the greatest thing on earth when they had a chance to get it? Now it's 300 grand. That's what I know it's a lot of money. I trust me, I'm a taxpayer. I live here. Okay, and my kids both went here, and so I'm just concerned about any kids that if you know that was put there. I think more in safety. Dr. Carson, Mr. Carson might be a little.
I like that, Dr. Picardi.
Yes, well,
I just want to remind you back to what Steve was saying. This is bond funds, and so we cannot buy school supplies. We cannot buy desktops.
Right.
We have to do something that would be a capital asset. It could also be used for security that you were just, repetitive construction that we were discussing earlier. But that's what we're asking for. That was why it was specifically lined as a separate item for the board to make.
No, but you free up one and you get, it's,
Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Yes.
I second. Can you say your motion first? I'm sorry, can you please say your motion, please?
I'd like to go with the recommendation of administration on the turf.
All right, is there a second?
I second.
All right, there's a motion and a second to take administration's recommendation with respect to the turf.
What funds?
That is including the $158,000 for the pad, is that correct? Yeah. All right. Okay, do we have any further discussion? All right, Sonia, open word.
Yes, sir. Ms. Brigham?
No.
Mr. Coronado?
Yes?
Mr. Payan?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez? I'm sorry. Mrs. Searles?
no.
Mrs. Trout?
Yes.
And Mrs. Iglesias?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion passes. Next item, Sonia?
Item E, discussion and possible action regarding the purchase of a visual display board for Canutillo High School football field using bond funds and additional infrastructure in an amount not to exceed $489,733.
Well, I suggest that we table this item or just remove
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
it.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to remove this item.
All right.
Second that motion.
All right. Any further discussion?
Mary, I heard it was your idea. Was there a reason?
What,
The jumbotron?
we saw it at one of the conventions and it was.
We want it.
There's
We don't
another
need it.
thing
We want
that
it.
With time, it would pay itself off with all the advertisements that we can get. We're getting big businesses around this area. And so with their money, it's a lot more. Later on, thank you.
All right. Any further discussion? All right, not from the full board.
Ms. Brigham?
Yes.
Mr. Coronado?
Yes?
Mr. Payan?
Yes.
Mrs. Searles?
Yes.
Mrs. Trout?
Yes.
And Mrs. Iglesias?
Yes.
All right. Takes care of those items. Thank you, board.
Thank
Next agenda item.
Item 6, consent.
Thank you, Mr. Vasquez. I apologize.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr. Vasquez, thank you. Coach?
Thank you very much.
Thank you both.
Thank you. All right.
Item 6, consent agenda. Administration recommends approval as presented.
All right. Before I entertain a motion on the agenda, on the consent agenda, would any board member like to have any item pulled?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Mrs. Brown? Oh, Mrs. Searles?
I would like to pull out 6A2.
6A2? Okay. And anybody else?
Yes, sir. I'd like 6A6, please.
6A6? Oh. That's it? What else? Okay. I'll entertain a motion at this time to approve the consent agenda with the exception of items 6A2 and 6A6. So moved. All right. Motion, do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Motion and a second. Sonia?
Yes. Ms. Brigham?
Yes.
Mr. Coronado?
Yes?
Mr. Payan?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mrs. Searles?
Yes.
Mrs. Trout?
Yes.
And Mrs. Iglesias?
Yes.
Motion passes. Now we are at 6A2, and that is acceptance of the report regarding printed materials for board trustees.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just with to inform the community what they were requesting about the cost associated with the printed board books. I would like to say it so it's in line straight for the persons that they don't have a computer. So the pages that were printed for the regular board meeting for Mrs. Searles was 440 pages for today board meeting, and for the Thursday packets, 351 pages. Supplies, $60 for today's board meeting and $52 for the Thursday packet. Salaries, $42.96 for the regular board meeting and $42.96 for the Thursday packet. Total monthly packet costs are for this regular board meeting from $102 to $156, and for to print and work employees, the total cost was $94 to $148, plus 95 emails printed to her. It takes us to a grand total of $513 for this board meeting. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Any further discussion? All right, I'll entertain a motion at this time to approve item 6A2.
And I second.
Motion and a second. All right. Sonia?
Yes, sir. Ms. Brigham?
No.
Mr. Coronado?
Yes?
Mr. Payan?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mrs. Searles?
No.
Mrs. Trout?
Yes.
And Mrs. Iglesias?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, next agenda item, 6A6.
Dr. Galavis, I have a question on this. I think you can answer it easily. Budget Amendment BJE 336355. It's only for $1,500. It's not a huge amount. But what I'd like to know is it's for librarian travel. Is the librarian going somewhere, or is there only one librarian that's having to go between campuses?
No, it's actually her professional.
Okay, that's all I needed to hear. Good, okay.
Okay.
But there is a librarian at each school?
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much. That was it. And I so move to accept that, our budget amendments for the money.
All right, get a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on agenda item 6A6. Sonia?
Ms. Brigham?
Yes.
Mr. Coronado?
Yes?
Mr. Payan?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mrs. Searles?
Yes.
Mrs. Trout?
Yes.
Mrs. Iglesias?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, that takes us to agenda item 7. And we thought that we were going to be finished by 6 o'clock.
I bet,
Board, I'd like your input on this. I think we're going to need to reschedule because of our presenters, is that? Yeah. So we're an hour and a half past our
Make a
time.
motion that we reschedule.
Yes.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Can I make a comment? The LSG is critical for us, and we've talked about it. Making sure that we schedule around it because it's important for us to all attend. And I think we all have the January 4th and 5th will be the first part, which I've seen them, and many of us have seen them. It's going to be a good thing, and I think over the year, this would be the first cohort, 1 out of 8, or 1 out of 4 in El Paso, but 1 out of 8 in the state of Texas to get on this cohort.
I agree. Ms. Brigham?
thank you. I would normally agree, sir, and I don't. I'm not going to subject myself to ridicule and just hostile. This year has been horrible. I can't go through the 5 additional training days. You know, until we have a more civil, then I could go. But I also do have on the 5th, because I am going out of town. But I will not. I'm not going to. I will come to all my homework. No problem doing it. But sir, I cannot say that this is acceptable.
Well, that's the whole reason for this LS team is focus on student outcomes and do away with
And you know, I would like to give you the benefit of the doubt. I would at the present. And I'll sit and talk with you, sir.
Sure.
But I'm not gonna be subject to what I've been subject to.
Well, that's the whole reason for this training. There's very few boards able to do it, and some of the boards that have applied for it throughout the state did not get it. And
I don't know why we got it.
well, I think we probably needed.
Unless that's the reason.
Well, you know,
It could be, sir.
the other one of the local boards that got it was Cervantes.
Cervantes.
That was because they had many issues, not because of their exemption, but it helped them. They're back on track. It's focusing. It's how do you get the board,
You know,
everybody
I'd
to
like to talk to
focus
you.
on student outcomes.
You know, and I am.
Instead of each other and personal things.
Because, you know, that's all I hear from the community.
I think the more so why we need this.
Yeah, and you know what, I'd like to, you know what I think, what I was promised to do for you, sir.
Yes.
If I could, is, I will read up on it. Okay? But right now, I'm gonna say on the 5th, there's absolutely no exit. And it's because it's my turn, you can't take it. And, but other than that, and I'm not going to, as long as I put that out there, I'm not going to ridicule and harass.
Well, this workshop is not about,
Well, I hope not.
no, it's not.
No, I would like to absolutely, I respect where you are. I respect that. Thank you, acknowledging for the time. So I acknowledge that, and thank you for that. So, I'm willing to talk with you and administration. But I have great reticence.
Okay. So now, Mr. Payan.
I don't know if I can address this issue, Al, but going back to the funding on the bond money, are we going to go back and get campus improvement committee?
Yes, and we can talk about that longer on the agenda item. We can get administration to do some list. Not only that, I don't think that there's not going to be time between now and 10. So we can certainly address another agenda item at the next special board meeting. I think that would be important to have that. Well, I will certainly, when we develop the next agenda item, we will do that. All right.
I just, real quick, going back, and I think, and I'll say it publicly, I think as a board, we need to make sure that we start working together. I think the state has realized we're doing a tremendous job, thanks to Dr. Galaviz and all the employees, getting an A-rated district, and I think this will help us hopefully heal wounds and actually move forward. But like AJ Prezo says, which is the Deputy Commissioner of Governance, he says, student outcomes won't change unless adult behaviors change. And so I'm hoping, and it's pretty much a requirement, so I'm hoping, and I'm extending that on because I think, you know, and that's a problem, is it's a two-way street, and that's where hopefully you would be able to help.
But I really think this is beneficial for the board, and that's allowing us to move forward. So, Sonia.
Ms. Brigham?
Yes.
Mr. Coronado?
Yes.
Mr. Bayan? Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mrs. Searles? Yes. Mrs. Trout?
Yes.
Mrs. Iglesias?
Yes.
Motion passes. Item number 8, adjournment, and the time is...
By unanimous consent of the board, we are adjourned.
Thank you.